What a da das bath, Robin. Can you remember what that means yet? It means good morning, class Robin. Good morning, Robin class. Right, we're going to look at the story of St. David. Okay, now St. David is what we are celebrating today. It's a whole day dedicated to him. Let's find out a bit more about him. Now, some people believe these stories, some people don't. This is St. David. St. David is the patron saint of Wales. We celebrate St. David's Day on the 1st of March. This day is called, and I don't know what that word is, but that's how they pronounce it in Welsh. David enjoyed reading and writing. His teacher's name was Paulinus. David loved to listen to the monks spreading the good word of Jesus. So a monk is someone who dedicates their life to religion, Christianity really, so they spend their whole life or part of their life really focusing on their religion and being a Christian, and they sort of take themselves out of normal society. Okay, they live together, they worship together. David's mother's name was Non, and his father's name was Sant, king of Ceredigion. I don't know how you pronounce that again. Another Welsh word. Welsh language is really hard. They soon realized that he was a special boy. Wherever David went, he was followed by a white dove. You can see the white dove there. David loved to hear stories about Jesus, so he decided to become a monk when he was older. So David decided, like his teacher Paulinus, to dedicate his life to religion. He was a good and kind man. David was shy and quiet and would sit and listen to the other monks. One day he could see Paulinus, his teacher, struggling. He'd lost his eyesight over time and was now blind. David thought he might be able to help, so he touched Paulinus's eyes. Suddenly, Paulinus could see. After spreading the word of Jesus around Britain, David returned with his friends Aidan, Ishmael, and Taylor. He had plans to build a monastery for the monks. He wanted to build a monastery for the monks to worship and live in. Unfortunately, a fierce man called Boyer didn't want David to build a monastery on the land near him. He went to hurt David, but God protected David from harm. After this, David was even more determined to build the monastery. He worked hard and made sure everyone else worked hard too. They grew vegetables and would always share them with people around them. One day, while David was preaching in a place called Brethy, something wonderful happened. The people of Llandudno Brethy, and that's what Brethy is called today, went to hear David preach, but they could not see him. Suddenly, when David started to preach is when he talks about God, okay, shares the religion with other people. Suddenly, when David started to preach, the ground rose to make a little hill. Everyone could now see and hear David. Okay, so that is the story of St. David. Which obviously they believed he was quite a magical man, didn't they? A man that could really change things. He sorted Paulinus's eyesight. He built this monastery. He helped lots of people. When people couldn't see him, the ground rose. He was quite, he described as almost a magical man, wouldn't he? Now, what I'd like you to do is story map for me some key parts of St. David's life. Okay, so either in circles or in like a comic strip style. What was the key part of St. David's life? And it's really important you do this because you might need it for your final task this afternoon. Okay, so can you, in whatever way you want, story map what happens in St. David's life? So if I go back, it might be that you tell us that he enjoyed reading and writing and his teacher was called Paulinus. That his parents realized he was a special boy. There's two things, and that he was followed by a white dove. He liked to hear stories about Jesus, so became a monk. That he cured Paulinus's eyesight. He travelled around Britain with his friends, spreading the word of Jesus, which is called preaching. And he came back to build a monastery. He was challenged by a fierce man called Boyer, but protected by God. They grew vegetables in the monastery, and then when he was preaching about this little hill that rose. Okay, so 8 maybe so probably between 7 and 10 things of St. David's life that spread that what he was doing. Okay, the whole St. David's life was all about being good and helping other people, being kind, and he cured a lot of illness and bad things. So he was a really treasured and special man amongst his community. Okay, let me know how you get on then, guys. I hope you have fun doing it. Hope you enjoyed the story. I look forward to seeing your story maps at the end of the day. See you soon, Robins.